Well, absolutely, but don't even believe that there were 5 options. What you really saw were Harry's and Meghan's fantasy narrative, which they call the truth. What Meghan never really understood, probably not even now, is that when she was chaired as a working royal, it wasn't because she was Meghan Markle, it was because she represented British royalty and all the values of the Queen and all the tradition and 1,000 years of history. So people were cheering not just the person, but also the institution.
Devastating moment for Prince Harry's reputation and credibility, as he argues with a judge while in the dock, contradicts himself.
Royal biographer Tom Bower just dropped a shocking revelation that reportedly left Meghan Markle fuming, while Prince Harry was seen in a London courtroom looking visibly emotional and frustrated during an intense exchange with a judge. At the same time, Netflix quietly pulled the plug on Meghan's long-anticipated cooking show. And Bower says the truth behind its downfall is way darker than bad ratings. This wasn't just a creative flop, it was something much deeper. By the time we break this down, you'll see exactly why Meghan's big Hollywood comeback may have hit a dead end. So here's the deal. Tom Bower, the author behind the explosive biography Revenge, Meghan, Harry, and the War Between the Windsors, sat down for an interview where he exposed what really went wrong behind the scenes. And his take? Brutal. He explained that Netflix's executives quickly realized they'd made a serious miscalculation. Bower didn't make these claims lightly either. He spent years digging into Meghan's history, interviewing more than 80 people who worked with her, knew her personally, or dealt with her in professional settings. Every claim he makes, he says, is backed by proof. According to Bower, Netflix insiders started having second thoughts within just 6 months of signing that massive $100 million deal with Harry and Meghan, realizing fast that things weren't turning out the way they'd hoped. Netflix executives soon realized Meghan couldn't deliver the kind of content viewers actually wanted to watch.
Appears to fib about using the pseudonym Mr. Mischief.
He lost at the trial court level on this push to make the British royal family pay for his security when he goes to the UK.
Once they realised that myself, my wife, and our kids are happier outside of the institution, please just look at the fact, look at the risks, look at the threat, look at the impact that if anything was to happen to me, my wife, or my father's grandchildren, look where the responsibility lies.
What a manipulation. My father's grandchildren.
Her show with Love Meghan was meant to be her big Hollywood comeback. Her shot at reinventing herself as a lifestyle expert in the same league as icons like Martha Stewart or Ina Garten. But according to Tom Bower, there was one major problem: authenticity. Bower didn't hold back, explaining that audiences in 2026 are sharper than ever, and they can sense when someone isn't being real. Meghan wanted to present herself as this warm, down-to-earth host who adored cooking, family, and home life. But Bower claimed that while filming, Meghan's own father was seriously ill, and she reportedly didn't reach out or visit him, a detail that, in his view, clashed completely with the image she was trying to project. How, Bower questioned, can someone sell themselves as devoted to family values while being so disconnected from their own? It was a harsh critique, and he called the contradictions staggering. Then came the numbers, and they were jaw-dropping. With Love, Meghan ranked an unbelievable 1,217 out of all Netflix titles in the second half of 2025. Practically invisible, the show drew only about 2 million views in 4 months, a number that some small YouTube creators surpassed in just a few weeks. Just think about that for a second. Meghan Markle, once one of the most talked about women on the planet, who married into the British royal family and signed a massive $100 million deal with Netflix, couldn't even pull solid numbers for a simple cooking show. Even the holiday special did only a bit better, hitting 2.4 million views.
They're gonna, and it will be his fault.
It's gaslighting on a grand scale.
It's almost like Harry 2.0 is Brooklyn Beckham. Have you seen any of this action where...
Yes, I'm into it.
I'm so
very
into it because he doesn't talk to his father, fall out with the father.
He holds on to these terrible, unhappy moments with Meghan, who he says, she's absolute misery, but, that's not true either. And she wasn't around in the late 1990s.
But still landing around 1,500th on Netflix's overall chart. For someone once seen as a major star, that's a rough look. Tom Bower didn't mince words when explaining what went wrong. He said Netflix kept trying to make Meghan work, hoping she'd eventually bring in that huge moment they could cash in on. They dreamed of exclusive access, royal insight, maybe even a behind-the-scenes documentary that would shake things up. But what they got instead, according to Bauer, was footage of Meghan quietly arranging flowers and packaging pretzels. Not exactly edge-of-your-seat viewing. Executives, he said, were stunned by how little spark there was on set. Meghan didn't come across as spontaneous or funny. Everything felt too polished, too rehearsed, too carefully curated, and that stiffness showed on screen. Bauer even claimed Netflix pulled out all the stops, top producers, generous budgets, full creative control, yet the final product still couldn't grab attention. And here's where Bauer's analysis really cut deep. He said Meghan's biggest issue wasn't the show. It was her inability to genuinely connect with ordinary people. Authenticity is what makes lifestyle stars shine. Martha Stewart built her brand from the ground up, crafting a real empire through genuine passion and skill. Even Gwyneth Paltrow, who often gets teased for being out of touch, still brings genuine personality to everything she does. But according to Tom Bauer, Meghan's problem is that she's playing a role, a carefully crafted version of herself that doesn't match reality, and modern audiences can see straight through that.
It's a sort of extraordinary way of behaving.
He wanted half in, half out. He wanted his own cake and eat it. And the royal family said, no, you're either in the royal family or not in the royal family.
April 2025, she said it's the happiest she's ever been. She's having a wonderful time. She can't believe it, and she's happy and grateful. Now, what sort of idiot would say that in court?
Bauer said people who worked on Meghan's Netflix project told him she was extremely demanding on set, often reshooting the same scenes over and over simply because she didn't like how she looked. She reportedly fixated on her image, worrying about perfect lighting and hair, while paying less attention to the quality of the actual content. One story Bauer shared was especially telling. Meghan allegedly insisted her hair look flawless in every shot, even though she was filming a cooking show. Real chefs, as Bauer pointed out, tie their hair back and focus on the food, not glamour. But Meghan wanted the perfect glossy image, not authenticity. That's exactly why, according to Bauer, the show collapsed. Nothing about it felt real. From the rented mansion she used as a filming location to the borrowed props like beehives, even to celebrity guests who looked uncomfortable on camera, it all seemed staged. And when Netflix finally canceled the show, Bauer claimed Meghan was furious. She truly believed it would become a hit, maybe even win awards, and didn't see the disconnect between what audiences wanted and what she delivered. While that was unfolding, Prince Harry was back in London facing a tough courtroom moment that made global headlines. During his testimony in a lawsuit about alleged phone privacy violations from years before he met Meghan, witnesses said he grew visibly emotional, even clashing with the judge multiple times. Reports claim the judge had to remind him more than once to focus on the questions, not to argue. At one point, Harry's voice broke as he mentioned how badly the press had treated his wife, even though the case itself predated their relationship.
When he talks to the person herself is given something completely different.
The more Meghan must have been convinced of her importance to the monarchy. Do you still think she's that delusional? And maybe the answer is watching her at Kevin Costner's 805 Live event in $300,000 worth of jewelry, including Diana's Cartier watch.
Bauer later commented that this reaction showed how deeply Harry's focus revolves around Meghan. He said before that Harry seems unable to separate his own issues from hers, that even in moments meant to be about him, everything circles back to her. What made things even more striking? Meghan wasn't in court that day. She stayed in California, posting online while her husband faced the judge alone, thousands of miles away. Critics saw that as another moment that didn't match the image of unity they often project. And when Harry spoke about wanting privacy, people immediately brought up the contradiction. This is the same man who released a 400-page memoir revealing personal family details, appeared in multiple interviews, and collaborated with streaming platforms on intimate documentaries. Bauer called it a pattern of mixed messaging, trying to claim privacy while continuing to live publicly. The reaction across social media was relentless. Comments flooded in, saying things like, if he wanted privacy, he wouldn't have released Spare, and court is for facts, not feelings. People are growing tired of what they see as the same repeating narrative: fame, complaint, contradiction. And regarding Meghan's canceled Netflix show, viewers didn't hold back either. Many openly celebrated the cancellation, saying it was overdue, calling the project soulless and pretentious. According to Bauer, this is exactly what he predicted: that audiences would eventually get exhausted by what he called their victim storyline, realizing there's little substance behind the headlines. He warned that both Meghan and Harry's appeal would fade once people saw through the act, And judging by the current backlash, that time might have already arrived. And now, with Meghan's Netflix show scrapped and Harry's...
wherever she is, whether it's at Keltner or in Colombia or in Nigeria or wherever, she's always, her publicist will reveal that she's wearing one of Diana's pieces of jewelry. Series is over. There's no great podcast. They don't generate any money. And I don't see where she is going from here.
Courtroom moment dominating headlines, the cracks in their once carefully built image are impossible to ignore. What Tom Bower and other observers have been saying for months is finally starting to play out. The public is no longer enchanted by the glamour, the drama, or the endless storytelling. People are beginning to question what's really left when the spotlight fades. Because at this point, the empire they tried to build in Hollywood seems to be collapsing piece by piece. The Spotify deal vanished after executives said the project failed to meet expectations. Netflix pulled her cooking show, and now even media insiders admit that the pair's brand value isn't what it once was. Every move they make, every announcement they post online, seems to be met with more skepticism than support. Tom Bower has been very clear about why this is happening. In his interviews, he explains that the real issue isn't bad luck or unfair media, it's strategy. He claims Meghan tried to skip the part where real public figures earn trust and credibility. Instead of slowly proving herself through consistent, meaningful work, she jumped straight into million-dollar deals, assuming fame alone would carry her. But audiences today are too savvy for that. They crave authenticity, not staged perfection. And that's where things turned sour. Once people started feeling that everything she did was calculated, from the set design to her tone of voice, the illusion cracked. The cooking show became the perfect example of that disconnection. Glossy visuals, expensive production, but no soul. As Bower put it, it was a performance, not a passion. Meanwhile, Harry's public appearances have only made things worse. His emotional outbursts in court, his repeated frustration with the press, and his decision to rehash royal family issues years after stepping away have backfired.
In Meghan's case, it seems to me she's absolutely determined to force feed the narrative, and damn it, they're going to accept it and keep going, and people are just too smart.
Seems to have softened, or there's been some sort of evolution. So I do think you're right that a lot of us were kind of caught off guard by the Prince Andrew decision, because we had grown accustomed to cuddly Charles, Grandpa Charles, with the grandkids in his lap. And when I saw the news, I thought, I don't know if I'll ever see anything like this again in my lifetime, but maybe I will because of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle.
Instead of appearing brave and outspoken, he now looks conflicted, unable to move on from the institution he once condemned. Even his defenders admit the strategy feels lost. The more he talks, the more sympathy slips away. And that loss of public support isn't just emotional, it's financial. Hollywood thrives on popularity, and when a public image turns sour, the deals dry up fast. According to entertainment insiders, Meghan and Harry's production company hasn't produced any major content since their documentary series in 2022. The rumored animated series was quietly shelved, their podcast lineup was cut short, and their Netflix partnership appears to be hanging by a thread. Tom Bower believes this downfall was inevitable. He says Meghan's obsession with control, how she looks, how she's perceived, how she's edited, limits creativity. You can't inspire people if everything you do feels staged. That's why stars like Martha Stewart or Gwyneth Paltrow still manage to thrive even after criticism. They may not be perfect, but they're consistent and real. Meghan, on the other hand, keeps reinventing herself every year, leaving audiences unsure who she truly is. And then there's the image contrast. Luxurious mansions, designer clothes, private jets, all while talking about being relatable. It just doesn't connect. Viewers don't see a hardworking creative. They see someone performing relatability instead of living it. That gap between message and reality has become the central reason why her ventures keep failing. In Hollywood, reinvention is common, but it only works when the reinvention feels earned. Meghan's attempts have started to feel desperate, almost like she's throwing ideas at the wall to see what sticks. One moment it's a podcast about inspiring women, the next it's a cooking show, then a rumored beauty line, then lifestyle blogging. But none of these ventures stick long enough to build trust. Meanwhile, Harry's approach hasn't helped either. Instead of balancing Meghan's ambition with a calmer image, he often fuels the chaos. Bower says Harry's constant defense of Meghan, even in situations unrelated to her, shows that he's emotionally tied to a version of their story that no longer works in public. And that devotion, while maybe well-intentioned, has cost them the goodwill they once had. What's fascinating is how different things could have been. When they first stepped back from royal duties, public interest was massive. People were ready to see what this modern royal couple could create on their own. Fresh projects, honest discussions, maybe even real change in the entertainment world. But instead of being open and natural, everything became tightly controlled and highly polished. The spontaneity disappeared, and with it, the charm. Now, even their inner circle seems uncertain. Rumors are swirling that several staff members from their production company have quietly moved on. Reports say that some executives feel directionless, unsure what projects are next. Netflix and other partners are reportedly demanding results. Not just PR statements or magazine covers, but real, tangible success. And that's the heart of the problem. Without consistent output, public attention fades fast. Bauer summed it up by saying Meghan and Harry mistook fame for influence. Fame can attract attention for a moment, but influence requires credibility, and credibility can't be bought with money or titles. It has to be built, and right now, theirs is slipping away. Still, Meghan hasn't given up entirely.
Even the publishers couldn't quite believe some of the things which I discovered. And one of the big things at that time was sensitivity reading. There was a great fear that she would play the
Insiders claim she's exploring new branding directions, maybe even launching a new product line centered around home and wellness. But experts warn that without a complete image reset, audiences might not be interested. They've already seen the polished version. Now they want the real person, not another filtered performance. And Harry? He's reportedly planning more advocacy work, though many believe he needs a break from the spotlight to regain perspective. Constant exposure has only made things worse. Sometimes silence rebuilds credibility faster than speeches do. What's undeniable is that their Hollywood chapter has hit a major turning point. Whether this is the end of their influence or just the pause before a true rebrand remains to be seen. But as Tom Bauer said bluntly, the world has moved on. The fascination is gone. And that's what stings most for a couple that once had everything: fame, opportunity, global attention. Because no matter how glamorous the story looks from the outside, if the audience stops believing in it, the magic disappears. And that's exactly where we are now. The Netflix cancellation says it all. And Harry's courtroom drama only makes the picture clearer. The public has moved on. Tom Bauer once said that the opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference. And that's exactly what's happening right now. People aren't angry at Harry and Meghan anymore. They simply don't care. The fascination that once surrounded them has burned out completely, leaving behind a trail of fading headlines and half-forgotten projects. When you think about it, it's wild how fast things changed. There was a time when every move they made, every photo, every interview, every appearance would dominate global news. But now, silence. Even tabloids that once couldn't stop talking about them barely bother anymore. It's not outrage that's killing their brand, it's boredom. The story feels over, the spark is gone, and the audience is no longer buying what they're selling.
Canceled. You're not going to be the next Martha Stewart, Meghan. I mean, the fact that Meghan Markle had a cooking show and she moved pretzels from one bag into another.
12 episodes and you sliced it. What do you, everybody
Craft
knows
services
that.
did not come back. The trucks did not drive up the driveway again and relight the whole place.
And from 2013, and she wanted wealth and she wanted fame, and she targeted.
Tom Bauer's latest breakdown of their situation paints a grim picture. According to him, the so-called Hollywood chapter is crumbling faster than anyone expected. His predictions are blunt, detailed, and, if his previous forecasts are anything to go by, likely to hit the mark once again. First, Bauer believes Netflix will completely drop the Sussex pair within the next year, not in some explosive, headline-grabbing announcement, but through what one media insider called slow ghosting. Netflix won't embarrass them publicly. Instead, it'll simply stop approving new ideas, delay meetings, quietly decline pitches, and eventually let the deal expire. In the business world, that's how you cut ties without starting a scandal. Remember, this was the same streaming giant that once hyped up their partnership as a global creative collaboration. Hundreds of millions were reportedly on the table. But now, even Bauer says Netflix realized it's not worth the drama. Their first few projects generated curiosity, yes, but the audience drop-off was brutal. Internal reports, according to Bauer's sources, showed that engagement plummeted after just a few weeks. For a company obsessed with metrics, that's the kiss of death. Bauer explains it this way. Netflix is in the entertainment business, not the charity business. If a show doesn't hold viewers, it's gone, no matter how famous the producers are. And that's precisely what's happening. The First Look deal that once symbolized star power has quietly turned into a symbolic partnership with no future. Bauer calls it a polite retreat, the corporate version of saying goodbye without saying it out loud. Second,
then they get quite adverse reaction most of the time. Then they react really badly to the reaction. And so it goes on.
Well, what it really boils down to is the threat they offer. If the threat was punctured, which I hope my book will do.
I don't know that he would hang on with Meghan because, as we know, he's not in the top 1,000 that for Netflix.
The internet is undefeated. You cannot fool it. You will never get away with it.
Bauer believes the money is drying up fast. Reports suggest the couple spent over $38 million across their projects, branding efforts, staff, and luxury lifestyle, all while income from major deals keeps shrinking. Their Montecito mansion alone costs a fortune to maintain, with taxes, security, and staff eating into whatever's left of their savings. Add in private travel, designer wardrobes, and endless PR consultations, and it's not hard to see why insiders whisper about financial pressure behind the scenes. Bauer says Meghan's decision to reconnect with her former PR firm, Sunshine Sachs, was a desperate move, an attempt to reignite public interest and fix a reputation that slipped beyond easy repair. She's looking for a way back into the conversation, he said, but it's not working. And it shows. Meghan's recent attempts to build new friendships in Hollywood, reportedly trying to connect with stars like Jennifer Aniston through Aniston's Circle, have been read as strategic rather than sincere. Every photo op, every event appearance feels planned, not spontaneous. And that's exactly what audiences are tired of, the sense that everything is calculated. Then there's the so-called bookmark fiasco. Meghan's lifestyle line was supposed to rebrand her as a creative tastemaker, but the rollout backfired. From the oddly minimalist product to the confusing message, people online called it pretentious and out of touch. Bauer pointed out that it symbolized everything wrong with her public image. Expensive packaging, no real substance. She's trying to manufacture relatability, he said, but you can't fake warmth.
Be doing anymore, which I'm not shocked because nobody was watching it, okay?
In Meghan's mind, she is Diana.
Yes.
I mean, Diana Spencer is Meghan Spencer. And that was all part of her imagination that somehow she could inherit the glow of her.
A documentary on his mother would be, by him, surrounded by all of these yes people.
It would be totally inaccurate. I mean, from his own book where he says for a long time he thought his mother had just disappeared and now believes she'd been murdered by the paparazzi, which is ridiculous.
According to Bauer, that's why everything she launches falls flat. She's operating like an influencer stuck in a time warp, relying on aesthetics instead of authenticity. And no matter how polished the marketing looks, if audiences don't feel a genuine spark, they tune out fast. Meanwhile, Harry's troubles are just as serious. Bauer predicts that his ongoing legal battle will end badly, not because of conspiracy or bias, but because the evidence just isn't there. The case is based on suspicion, feelings, and frustration, not hard proof. And in the courtroom, emotion isn't enough. Judges deal in facts, and Harry's behavior in court, emotional outbursts, interrupting the judge, visibly losing composure, has only made things worse. If Harry loses, Bauer warns, the financial consequences could be devastating. He may be ordered to pay the opposing side's legal costs, potentially tens of millions of pounds. For a couple already bleeding cash, that would be a disaster. It could even force them to sell assets, downsize, or take on emergency deals just to stay afloat. And this, Bauer says, is the bitter irony. Harry and Meghan walked away from royal life, believing they could create something bigger, freer, and more profitable in America. But they underestimated how much the royal system shielded them, not just financially, but from bad press, business missteps, and public fatigue. Once they stepped outside that protective bubble,
that if he did a program about his mother, that would be for money.
Yes.
And I think it would be a shocking act or further disloyalty.
The way she's artificially building herself up with like the humble brags that she constantly does. She's so incredibly needy.
They discovered how ruthless the entertainment world really is. Fame without structure fades fast, and now they're living that reality. Bauer describes it as the unraveling of a carefully built illusion. For years, the couple relied on their royal titles and media attention to stay relevant. But now that fascination has worn off, the foundation beneath them looks fragile. They've become what he calls symbols without substance. And it's not just Bauer saying it. Commentators, former friends, and even some in the media who once supported them have changed tone. Articles that once praised their independence now ask what they've actually achieved. The tone has shifted from admiration to exhaustion. One insider even joked that Meghan's PR playbook is like using a flip phone in a smartphone world. Outdated and predictable. Glossy magazine shoots, inspirational speeches, and heavily edited interviews don't impress anyone anymore. People crave rawness, honesty, and self-awareness, and neither Meghan nor Harry seems willing to show that side. What's even more telling is how different things could have been. When they first moved to California, the world was ready for a modern royal story. One about resilience, reinvention, and building something meaningful outside the palace walls. If they had leaned into that narrative authentically, maybe the outcome would have been different. But instead, everything became about control. Controlling their image, controlling their message, controlling the story. And that obsession, Bauer says, is exactly what destroyed the magic. He compares it to over-editing a photograph. The more you retouch it, the less real it becomes. And once the audience stops believing, no amount of money can buy back trust. Still, Bauer doesn't think this is the end of the road, just the end of the illusion. He believes there's still a path forward for them, but only if they do the one thing they've avoided from the start: admit mistakes and start over honestly.
Harry be looking ridiculous. I mean, one of the ludicrous things that he said was that Meghan was absolute misery.
And his mother had amazing status. She looked beautiful. She had terrific poise. She worked very hard at being a royal. She was very empathetic with a lot of sick people. None of the things that Meghan would ever dream.
He was trying to humiliate her by clearly suggesting she came onto him. There was a little incestual dance.
Drop the pretense. Show the real struggle, not the rehearsed version. Because right now, their story has no heartbeat. That's why, according to Bauer, Meghan's next steps will be crucial. If she tries another glossy relaunch, another expensive brand, another heavily scripted project, it'll only confirm what critics already believe. But if she dares to do something genuine, something grounded, she might just win back a fraction of the public. The question is, can she let go of control long enough to do that? As for Harry, Bauer thinks the only way he can rebuild respect is by stepping out of the spotlight completely for a while. Stop talking about the past. Stop relitigating royal wounds. Go quiet. Focus on real humanitarian work and earn goodwill again through action, not words. People would forgive him if he showed growth, Bauer said. But they're tired of hearing excuses. In a way, Bauer's analysis sums up everything about the modern fame cycle. In the digital age, relevance doesn't last unless it's refreshed by truth. You can't sustain a career on old headlines and recycled drama. The public's attention span is short, and if you don't evolve, you disappear. And maybe that's the final lesson of the Harry and Meghan story: that you can't script authenticity and you can't trademark empathy. People have to feel it, and right now, they don't. Still, it's hard not to feel a little sympathy. The fall from global fascination to public fatigue is brutal, and beneath the glamour and PR missteps are still two human beings who clearly wanted to be understood, but lost themselves trying to control how they were seen. Tom Bauer's closing words on them are hauntingly simple. They thought the world would love them forever, but fame doesn't work like that. So what's next? Will they quietly fade from public life or try one last time to reinvent themselves? Will Meghan finally find her true voice or keep chasing the version she thinks people want? Only time will tell, but one thing's for sure: the spotlight that once made them untouchable is now slipping away fast, and that's where we'll leave it for today. What do you think? Is this truly the end of the Meghan and Harry era, or just another twist in their ever-changing story? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to hit that like button, share your thoughts, and subscribe for more deep dives into the biggest celebrity sagas and the stories behind the fame. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.